Coming up, we'll take you to a national conference that was held in downtown Bryan.
And we'll tell you about a powerful drunk driving awareness program that was held recently on one of our campuses. I'm Sandy Ferris.
And I'm BRUGGMAN, and this is Bryan Living and Learning. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Bryan Living and Learning. Today, the City of Bryan will show you a preview of some parks and recreation events that are coming up this spring, and we'll give you a full recap of the annual Broom Ball event.
Now, we sat down with one of our Child Nutrition Services directors who tells us about National School Breakfast Week. Our juniors recently toured the George Bush Presidential Library, and an acclaimed storyteller recently paid a visit to Bryan Collegiate High School. Before we get to those stories, however, everyone is familiar with the acronym CSI. It stands for Crime Scene Investigators. We spent some time with our Bryan Police Department's very own CSI unit for our first story. Bloodstains and fingerprint patterns may not seem like a normal or desirable work environment, but for the Bryan Police Department's crime scene investigators, it's all part of the job.
We work everything from simple criminal mischief up to capital murder cases.
And because there are just two, crime scene investigator KLINGLE and crime scene technician Rebecca WENDT, they're constantly busy, and they're on call 24 hours a day.
They contact us either via telephone, pager, or track us down here in the office. We're always contactable, so they're always going to find us.
Both KLINGLE and WENDT have particular specialties with fingerprints, while KLINGLE is also an expert in blood stain pattern analysis. And when they arrive on scene, they have to know how to do it all.
The most critical evidence that you're going to find at a crime scene is, of course, going to be the victim. And part of our job is examination of the victim. We also check for latent fingerprints, tool mark impressions.
Looks like we maybe have some sort of handprint.
Bloodstain pattern analysis, contact with the assailant. You can actually make those crucial links between suspect and victim because of touch DNA.
We received a few of those demonstrations when we visited their lab. It takes hours upon hours of experience and training to be a good CSI. For KLINGLE, it's been over 20 years, while WENDT is a relative newcomer with 1.5 years of experience with Bryan CSI.
I've had about 456 hours in a year and a half of specialized training, specialized crime scene training.
While experience matters, KLINGLE says it's just a matter of thinking through the crime.
Really, you get right down to it, forensics isn't anything more than common sense with a little bit of training and the ability to think outside the box. You have to put yourself in the mind of the perpetrator. Does that make us a little twisted? Probably.
Because of a slew of crime scene TV shows, including the popular CSI shows, crime scene investigators have gained a bit of the public's attention, but it's not always as it appears on the shows.
Well, as you notice, I'm not wearing leather pants and any kind of designer clothing. I'm probably not quite as pretty as they are on TV, and we don't drive Hummers.
You know, they dust for fingerprints. They have the ultraviolet light that they'll examine evidence with, but they just don't use it in the right technique. So it's pretty fake.
And it's caused some issues when cases go to trial as well.
The CSI effect has caused the crime scene or the forensics community a bit of a headache in the courtroom because the public has come to expect that. You know, why didn't you find the latent fingerprints? Well, there weren't any there, or we weren't able to develop them. Why didn't you find the DNA? It wasn't there.
Because the Bryan CSIs are involved in so many cases, there is a heavy backload of evidence to be analyzed. Even with all the cases, certain ones stick in the memories of KLINGLE and WENDT. KLINGLE recalls the Jennifer Verhalen murder case. Verhalen was a 20-year-old Blinn College student who was strangled to death in April of 2008 in her apartment.
When I initially worked that scene, to me initially it looked like an accident. It looked like an accidental death or a natural death. It looked like a seizure. and it wasn't.
Verhaelen's killer is currently serving a 55-year prison sentence. Along with the satisfaction of putting criminals in jail, there are some tough parts of being a CSI. The toughest part for WENT is dealing with the emotion of family members at a crime scene.
They want us to find the answers, but they don't understand, well, why are you looking for this, or why are you looking for that? They don't comprehend the whole process, and I guess that would be the toughest thing, is dealing with the emotional, because you have to realize how would I feel if I was in that situation.
KLINGLE echoed those sentiments, but said he goes to work every day because he enjoys what he does.
I enjoy solving crime, but I would be lying to you right now if I said it's all about helping the community, because it's not. It's the thrill of the hunt. That's what it is. I enjoy hunting down the bad guy.
And because of that attitude and the Bryan Police Department CSIs, our community is a safer place.
Blood.
Well, Alan, I know people are really familiar with CSI on television, but this shows that it's not quite that way.
Yeah, it really isn't. A lot of the processes are very similar, but they can't complete tests in an hour like they do on the CSI TV show.
Shattered Dreams is a realistic, emotional, and sometimes graphic presentation about the dangers of drunk driving. Bryan High School students recently got an up-close look at that presentation.
The whole program is to reach kids, to promote not drinking and driving. What it is a mock drunk driving accident staged here on campus, and then the following day is a memorial to mourn the loss of the students in the accident. The crash takes place, and the student body, 11th and 12th grade, gets a chance to go outside and watch it take place and happen, and then watch the whole scene unfold, just completely before their eyes, getting students cut out of the accident, getting students tested for drinking, watching students being loaded into caskets, into the helicopter, just every part of it. This gives the students watching it a chance to see what would really take place if they made that choice to drink and drive. The following day is the memorial, and we mourn the loss, and we actually have caskets, and one of our parents will be speaking. And we also have MAD coming, and they're providing 2 speakers to who've lost loved ones from drunk driving. So our whole goal is to really promote to the students not to drink and drive through as many forms as possible.
It was supposed to be where there's 2 cars. One car was like the people who went to a party before and like were drinking and all this stuff, and then another car was like a group of soccer people. And, like, we were headed to school and like practice and stuff, and I was in that car, and I was sitting in the back, and I was just a passenger, and like I was severely injured, and then I was transported by helicopter, and then I died at the hospital.
Some of the student body has been, as far as what I've seen and heard, they've reacted well to it. They've actually got the message, they saw it happen, they knew somebody who was participating in it, so that helped them kind of have closer connection to it. Of course, there's the students who feel as though they're untouchable, but at least they've now seen what can happen.
It was really really touching experience. Like, I learned a lot, and like now I know like to think before I actually do things, because something like your whole life can be taken away like just like that, and like everything you've worked up to can just like not matter anymore, like it's gone. And whenever I was in the helicopter, like it wasn't that different. Like I was strapped down, so I didn't get to like look out or anything, but it was a really good experience, and I hope it really touched all the students and everything.
Well, Sandy, it seems like a pretty emotional program. Did it have an effect on the kids who were able to watch it live?
I really think it did. As the scene unfolded in front of them, there were over 1,000 students watching, and they were really quiet and really seemed to be absorbing what was happening.
For our next story, we'll show you BVSWMA's new landfill. Recently, our council members got the opportunity to tour the new facility. On February 26th, the Bryan City Council, along with members of the city staff, piled into a transit bus to visit the site of the new BVSWMA Twin Oaks landfill. The brief tour consisted of a look at aerial maps, a walkthrough of the landfill's scale house, and a quick drive to see where all that trash is going to go. Next, we'll show you our Be Green in Bryan segment, and this is all about a master compost class that's coming up this summer. A great way to embrace a green lifestyle is with composting. By starting your own compost bin at your house, you can help the environment in many ways. However, it can be tricky to follow the right steps to set up your own compost project. Lucky for you, the Brazos Valley Solid Waste Management Agency is hosting a Master Compost Training class this summer on August 24th through the 26th.
We teach them how to backyard compost in their own backyard, teach them the science of composting. We go over the troubleshooting, things that can and can't be composted.
The class is a good idea for anyone looking to reduce their impact on the environment.
We need to conserve our natural resources, and not only that, but save landfill space. That's very important for us.
The class costs just $15, and that pays for all the class materials, a t-shirt, and a compost bin.
August is a 4-day class, 3 evenings from 5:30 to 9:30, and then a Saturday, which is a field trip day. And we go to the Holistic Gardens, the Bryan Compost Facility, and the BVSWMA landfill.
This compost bin here is like the one the class participants will receive.
This is just a regular wire and wood bin. And this is something simply made, just chicken wire and wood put together. And then this front door opens for easy access to the compost.
To register for the Master Compost Training class, go online to cstx.gov/BVSWMA, which is BVSWMA.
Well, Alan, in the last show, I remember that we learned how the city was giving away free compost.
That's right. That was out at the Bryan Compost Facility. And this episode, it's all about a class where you can learn to make your own compost.
Well, March 8th through 12th was National Schools Breakfast Week. We take a look at how our schools are handling what many say is the most important meal of the day.
The National School Lunch and National School Breakfast Weeks are national programs set up through our School Nutrition Association. And so we do participate in this being the National School Breakfast Week. I think it emphasizes the fact that breakfast is a very important part of the day. You know, your mom always told you that, breakfast is the most important part of the day, and it is. And we do serve breakfast at all of our campuses. Very complete meal from some, milk's always included, fruit, juice. Very popular breakfast items like sausage biscuits or even breakfast pizza or homemade cinnamon rolls, which are a wheat cinnamon roll. Well, studies show that a good breakfast will kind of set the foundation for the rest of the meals of the day. So if we eat a good breakfast, it's just something to get some calories into the body and get the body functioning again, because you're kind of in a lull from your sleep, and so get you up and running again. And so studies show if you have a good breakfast, it kind of curbs your hunger, and so you don't overeat at lunch. You tend to make better choices at lunch and dinner. You don't binge about 10 o'clock because you're starving because you skip breakfast. It is very easy to pick a quick, simple breakfast, and there's a lot of grab-and-go choices, and even in our cafeterias, a lot of our stuff is very easy to eat. Quickly. You don't need the full fork and knife for everything. So, and they're kid-friendly menu options. We feed probably between 5,000 and 6,000. We tend to see that older the kids get, the less they actually eat with us. And it may be that they're riding with friends. It may be a time constraint. They may grab something through a drive-through window. They may just eat at home as they're getting ready. In order to eat breakfast at school, you got to get up a little bit earlier to get there to before the bell rings. So we see as kids get older, that tends to taper off. But we still have a really good participation at our secondary schools. The other thing that we look into is during tax testing, because I think that especially during that time, those kids that do skip breakfast for a time's sake, we try to work with the principals at the campuses about doing either like a late breakfast or something like that to get the kids fed before they take the test, because there's a lot that are skipping breakfast in order to sleep late or get there in time, or they're nervous. And it's really, again, back to you got to have the fuel. If you don't provide the energy to your brain, you cannot think, you can't concentrate, and you can't focus. So we got to have the energy to start us up. Otherwise, about 10, 11 o'clock, we get hungry, we can't think, we get grumpy, our stomach starts to hurt, and so we see a whole cascade of different events. And breakfast could have really helped prevent all of that.
Well, Sandy, preparing 5,000 to 6,000 meals each and every morning seems like quite the task.
It really is, and our cafeteria workers get there as early as 6 a.m. to get started.
Our next story is about a huge national conference that was held in downtown Bryan. It was called OBAMAnon, and it focused on Obama's presidency and was hosted in several downtown Bryan buildings. Professors, scholars, and graduate students from across the country convened in downtown Bryan for OBAMAnon, a conference officially called Rhetoric, Politics, and the Obama Phenomenon.
It's a presidential rhetoric conference, and the conference is an interdisciplinary conference that combines English, communication, political science, history, all kinds of different disciplines. And what we're trying to think more carefully about, is how it is that this person that we never heard of 4 years ago was able to rise from relative obscurity to the presidency and the highest office in the world.
And that's the phenomenon they were discussing in downtown Bryan's Brazos Cotton Exchange. Representatives from all over the country attended the conference.
Every university, every school, we have people who are undergraduate students that are presenting papers here. We have people who are full professors. We have people who are bloggers and aren't academics at all. And they're coming from states and universities as far away as Washington and as close as Austin.
Past conferences put on by A&M faculty were hosted on campus, but organizers wanted to embrace the community of downtown Bryan for this year's event.
The way that downtown Bryan has changed, it's so much more charming to be here than it is to be anywhere else in town. And so we really wanted to take advantage of First Fridays. We really wanted to take advantage of the shops and the restaurants that have come in down here, the revitalization of downtown, and this beautiful space here seemed opportune.
If you're interested in hosting an event at downtown's Brazos Cotton Exchange, contact them at 979-575-4181. The spring season means that Bryan Parks and Recreation are having several events coming up. We give you a preview of a handful of those events right now. Warmer temperatures and sunny skies mean it's time for spring activities with Bryan's Parks and Recreation. This spring, among many other things, Parks and Rec are offering swimming lessons.
Spring swim lesson registrations are going on right now at the Bryan Aquatic Center, which is located right by Bryan High School and the Bryan Super Walmart. You can register anytime 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, or on the weekends from 11:30 to 7.
The lessons are for kiddos from 3 to 16.
We've got a 4:30 class, a 5:30 class, and a 6:30 class. We've got classes for all age levels at that time, and classes meet Monday through Friday for 2 weeks, and they start April 5th.
And Parks and Recreation will cut you a deal if you sign up for more than one class.
The price for our swim lessons is $35, but if you sign up for more than one session, the additional session is $30.
If you're already a good swimmer, the Bryan Barracudas may be for you.
The City of Bryan also offers a summer league swim team called the Bryan Barracudas.
And the Barracudas are for kids between the ages of 6 to 18. However, if you have a 4 or 5-year-old who can swim the length of the pool, they're welcome to become a Barracuda. Sign up for the Barracudas at the Bryan Aquatic Center as well. Registration is also underway for Family Campout.
This year's Family Campout is scheduled for April 10th and 11th at Austin's Colony Park. We're hoping the weather is going to be as beautiful as you're seeing right now, and registration takes place for that at the Bryan Aquatic Center. It's only $5 a person, and we want to see everybody out there.
For more information on these and other events, go to bryanparksandrecreation.com.
Alan, it looks like the Bryan Aquatic Center is going to be a one-stop shop for those events.
It definitely is. You can sign up for everything at the Aquatic Center, and it opens as early as 5 in the morning when the swimming pool opens.
Recently, juniors from all 3 of our high school campuses toured the George Bush Presidential Library, where they heard a variety of speakers.
Well, the purpose of the trip is it's an opportunity for the students to visit the Bush Library, and it's also an opportunity to engage in a collegiate environment for the presentations. What we ended up doing was having about 600 juniors from across the district there, which is really amazing when you think about it. To be able to move them very quickly and very timely to the different presentations. And the Bush Library has docents for every group of 20 that goes through, so it's a small enough group to actually be able to question and look at things, and yet can get us through quickly enough, fast enough to have time for the presentations as well. One of the things that's really special is they try to tie it really closely to our U.S. history curriculum. So we typically hear from people who are either doing research in U.S. history areas, or we hear from people who have actually experienced the events that we're talking about. For example, this time we had a Vietnam veteran who was able to share with us some of his experiences, and it was very moving to actually hear from that type of person, but at the same time have it in a collegiate environment. So it's a different environment for the students, and it gives them a little bit of taste of what the future will be like. we happen to be covering Vietnam right now in the U.S. history class, and so one of the things is the kids were talking about what they heard, and it's really interesting to them to suddenly have something to connect to the text itself, to be able to see what, you know, what's being talked about in the textbook is actually the truth. You know, sometimes they think we kind of make this stuff up in history, but we don't. And then the other thing is, in the afternoon, almost always the Bush Library puts together a great program of future learning. Last year it was NASA, this year it was visualization and Viz Lab over A&M, and what future learning looks like, and where new areas of research, new areas of career development. And so it gives the kids a chance to talk to people who are on the cutting edge, truly cutting edge, of some of the new technology and new career areas. So it's a great opportunity. The Bush Library sponsors it for juniors specifically, and they even help with like funding of the buses to get us there. And you would be surprised, many of the kids who have lived in this area may have been to the Bush Library when they were very young, but at that point they didn't have the historical knowledge of what they were looking at. And so it's really special to go towards the end of their junior year when we've had all of this U.S. history, and to realize that President Bush's life pretty much follows from World War II to pretty close to the 1980s, pretty closely follows what we've been talking about in class. So it's really been a pretty neat experience.
Next, we'll take you to our Council Update segment, where our Communications Director will talk about several road projects that we've received funding for.
At our most recent City Council meeting, the Council accepted a grant for more than $370,000 from the State Comptroller's Office. The funds will go toward traffic signal synchronization and replacement. The upgrades will be made along Texas Avenue, Briarcrest Drive, Villa Maria Road, and East 29th Street to provide for a more efficient traffic flow along these busy corridors. As always, if you'd like to watch a council meeting in its entirety, you can log on to bryantx.gov.
Recently, several members of the City of Bryan family, including council members and several city staff members, joined together to benefit the Big Brothers and Big Sisters at a bowling tournament. The Big Brothers Big Sisters Bowl for Kids' Sake event is the organization's biggest fundraiser, and the City of Bryan sent some of our staff members to the lanes to help raise money.
We got about 16, 17 teams out here, and so each person has raised money for their whole team, and that comes to us as a profit so we can serve the kids in our community.
And because there is such a need for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization in our area, the money that comes from the fundraiser is crucial.
We've got a lot of kids that we serve here locally, and so just raising awareness is a big thing, but we also need money. I mean, in order to support all these kids, we have to have the money to do that, and so these people are generously giving of their time and their money to come out and support such a great cause.
For more information on our local chapter of Big Brothers Big Sisters, go to bigmentor.org.
Our next story is about an Emmy Award-winning storyteller who recently stopped by and entertained the students at Bryan Collegiate High School.
My name is Bobby Norfolk, and I am an actor, story performer, and author, and I travel the United States and the world performing. Dr. Nancy Self at Texas A&M got in touch with me in St. Louis, Missouri to come and do a 4-day visit. And so she got together with some other people like Ronnie Jackson, and we created this tour. I was at Neal Elementary School. I did 2 workshops so far at Texas A&M University, and even going to the juvenile detention center and performing for those kids also. I wanted to do a potpourri or a collage of different performances, from hip-hop fairy tales to historical pieces to pieces where the kids learn about how music is developed and how concentration is developed, the foundation of a ghost story or a story of mystery and suspense to make them jump. There were a few jumps out there, a few screams at the same time. So I want them to know that video is not the end-all of learning, that things can be done just through the ancient art of storytelling. You don't need electronic devices, all you need is the spoken word. I want them to understand, first of all, the rudiments of listening. Listening skills are just as important as speaking skills. So I let them know how I came from a background of stuttering to be a public speaker, but listening is just as important. And then writing is just as important too. So basically what I do is to take all forms of curriculum and blend it into the work that I do to show that storytelling is not just entertainment, that it can also be used for curriculum ties on all levels. I find that no matter what grade the kids are, pre-K through college students, everybody has to understand that the brain is hardwired for storytelling. We learn all of our morals and all of our ethics through the told story. And so no matter where you are on the planet, we all love story. And even if you see something interesting on your way home from work or school, you try to embellish it by telling it through story. Even journalism, what's the lead story? You know, on the evening news, the story. You know, people who are rock singer composers like John Lennon or Billy Joel, you know, Smokey Robinson, they're storytellers because they tell the story and then it's then presented through song. So we're just hardwired for story. It's inescapable.
Well, Sandy, it may seem a little odd that he was entertaining high school students with these fairy tales, but I guess that wasn't his real message.
Not really. I think the fact that students are so involved with multimedia and electronic things these days, it's just a good reminder that storytelling is something that can be just as entertaining.
Our next story is about the Broomball 2010 tournament and how our police department and fire department teamed up with their counterparts against domestic violence. The sight of Bryan police officers and firefighters slipping and sliding all over the ice at Arctic Wolf Ice Center can mean only one thing: Broomball 2010. The 4th annual Broomball tournament, benefiting the Brazos County Coalition Against Domestic Violence, raised more than $2,000 this year as the Bryan Police Department matched up against College Station Police and Bryan Fire played their College Station counterparts. Broomball is a game like hockey, only with tennis shoes, a rubber ball, and broom-like sticks. And oh yeah, a lot more falling. For Bryan Police, the goal was simple.
Well, the strategy is just to get a goal in there. We want to win. We're going to try to, we have 20 players, so we're more rested. We're going to try to do 2 minutes and then rest, then do 2 minutes and then rest. So we're going to try to stay fresh and prepared for them this time.
In the end, both Bryan teams advanced to the championship, where the game was decided in a shootout, with the police department coming out with a narrow victory and the golden broom. For more information on the Brazos County Coalition Against Domestic Violence, visit their website at bccadv.org. Our last story is a little reminder about the police department's annual Blue Bunny event and Easter egg hunt at Stephen F. Austin. The Bryan Police Department's annual Blue Bunny Easter egg hunt is scheduled for Saturday, March 27th at Stephen F. Austin Middle School. Eggs will be hidden on the football field for all different age groups. The big hunt starts at 10 a.m.
Well, that's all the time we have today on Bryan Living and Learning. I'm Sandy Ferris.
And I'm Ellen BRUGGMAN. Thanks for watching.